Once upon a time, there was a young woman named Elena Hart. And on the night her story began, she couldn't sleep. The world outside her apartment window was drenched in city lights. But inside her chest was an unsettling silence, the kind that pressed against her ribs like a weight she couldn't move. She wasn't sure what had woken her, but something told her she needed to sit up, listen, and wait. Elena had lived alone for 3 years, ever since her mother passed away, and her father drifted further into his new life, with a woman Elena had never managed to accept. She was 28 now, practical and stubborn, with a streak of defiance that had carried her through every disappointment life had handed her. But tonight, there was no room for defiance, only a nervous, pulsing awareness that something was about to happen. The sound came first. A soft thud against her front door, so faint it might have been nothing. She held her breath, straining to hear. Then came another. Not a knock exactly, but a presence like someone brushing against her life, too close to ignore. She rose carefully, her bare feet cold on the hardwood floor, and approached the door. Her heart beat so loud it almost drowned out the silence. When she looked through the peephole, no one was there, only the empty hallway stretching into shadows. She almost laughed at herself, almost turned back toward her bed until she saw it. A folded piece of paper slid halfway under her door. Elena's hand trembled as she bent down to pick it up. The envelope was unmarked, no stamp, no address, just her name written in hurried ink. Elena Hart. She opened it with clumsy fingers, her eyes racing across the words written inside. I know what happened that night. Meet me before it's too late. Intermission, 300 words in. And just like that, Elena's quiet, lonely night was shattered. She stared at the note, questions clawing at her chest. What night? Who knew her name? Her address? Why leave this message now? But more than the fear, more than the confusion, was the dreadful, undeniable truth. There was only one night in her past someone could mean. A night she had buried deep, convinced no one would ever discover. The intermission is brief, but it lingers a pause to let the audience breathe, to wonder what secret could be so heavy that even time hadn't buried it. And more importantly, who wanted her to remember? Elena backed into her apartment, locking the door, clutching the letter like it might vanish if she blinked. She told herself it could be a prank, a mistake, but the pit in her stomach knew better. Her past was catching up to her, dragging its shadow into her present. She grabbed her phone, scrolling to call her best friend, Maya, but stopped. What would she even say? That someone had left a note about a night she never spoke of. Maya would demand the truth, and Elena wasn't ready for that. Not yet. Not yet. Her apartment suddenly felt too small, every corner whispering with unease. She turned on every light, then sat at her kitchen table. The letter spread in front of her like evidence at a crime scene. Meet me before it's too late. Too late? For what? She thought of the places someone might expect her to go. The coffee shop near her office, the park where she used to walk her mother's dog, the old church at the edge of town. But no details had been given. Whoever wrote the note expected her to know. And the truth was, she did. Her mind dragged her back, unwilling, to a night 5 years ago. A rain-soaked road, headlights too bright, a scream swallowed by thunder. Elena closed her eyes, her throat tight. She had never told a soul about what happened after, but someone knew. The letter trembled in her hands. She had a choice. Burn it and pretend it never arrived, or face the secret that had stalked her dreams ever since. Her phone buzzed suddenly on the table, making her jump. A new message. No number. Tomorrow. Midnight. The pier. Her pulse spiked. The pier. Of course. The same place where everything began. And with that realization, Elena knew her life was no longer her own. Once upon a time, there was a young woman named Elena Hart, and on the night her story began, she couldn't sleep. The world outside her apartment window was drenched in city lights, but inside her chest, a storm was brewing. Fear gnawed at her, whispering insidious doubts. Was she losing her mind? Was this just another late-night anxiety attack? Then a gentle tap at her door made her heart skip a beat. When she opened it, she found an envelope. It was plain, unsealed and unmarked. Inside, a single sheet of paper with a message scrawled across it. I know what happened that night. Meet me before it's too late. The words seemed to leap off the page, echoing the turmoil in Elena's soul. A night from her past, a night she had buried, a night she had never spoken about, not even to her closest friends or family. What did this person know, and why were they sending her this ominous message? Her mind raced, trying to piece together the puzzle, but the more it grappled, the deeper the mystery became. As the night wore on, Elena found herself frozen in her apartment, trapped by the chilling message. Should she ignore it? Pretend it was some cruel joke? Or should she confront the specter of her past? The memory that haunted her waking moments and colored her dreams. Just when the first rays of dawn were beginning to peek through her window, offering a glimmer of hope in her dark hour, her phone buzzed with a new text. The message was short, sharp, and to the point. Meet me at the pier at midnight. Don't be late. The sender, unknown. Her heart pounded against her ribs, a frantic drumbeat in the silence of the night. The pier. A place etched in her memory. A place where laughter once echoed, but now stood as a silent witness to her unspoken secret. Was this person from her past reaching out, seeking closure, revenge, or something else entirely? The day dragged on, each hour marked by Elena's growing dread. As night fell once more, she found herself standing at the edge of the pier, the cold wind whipping around her, mirroring the tempest in her heart. She realized in that moment that she could no longer outrun her past. Her life, it seemed, was no longer in her hands. Someone, somewhere, was orchestrating the events of that fateful night all over again, forcing her to relive the nightmare she had buried deep within. Once upon a time, there was a young woman named Elena Hart, and on the night her story began, she couldn't sleep. The world outside her apartment window was drenched in city lights, but inside her chest, a storm was brewing. She tossed and turned, haunted by memories best left in the past. Then, as the first rays of dawn crept in, she heard a knock on her door. Startled, she found an unmarked envelope slipped under the door. Her heart pounded as she read the chilling message inside. I know what happened that night. Meet me before it's too late. The words hung in the air, heavy with implication. Elena's face drained of color. The night in question was one she had buried deep within her, a secret she had sworn never to speak of. But how could this be? She had told no one, hadn't she? As the day wore on, Elena felt a growing sense of dread. The walls of her apartment seemed to close in, suffocating her. Fear twisted in her gut. Should she ignore the note? Pretend it was some sick joke? But what if it wasn't? What if someone was out there who knew her darkest secret? Just when the sun began its descent, casting long shadows across the floor, Elena's phone buzzed. Another anonymous text. The pier, midnight. Be there if you want to live. Her breath caught in her throat. The pier. It was the one place from that fateful night that she hadn't been able to bring herself to revisit. What was happening? Who was behind these messages and why? A million questions raced through her mind, but there was no one to answer them. Elena found herself at the mercy of a terrifying game, a twisted test of her sanity. As the clock ticked, each second dragging her closer to midnight, she knew she couldn't run from her past forever. Her life, once filled with hope and promise, now hung in the balance, teetering on the edge of a nightmare she thought she had escaped. With trembling hands, Elena reached for her coat. There was no turning back. As she stepped out into the night, the cool air sending shivers down her spine, she realized she was in too deep. She couldn't escape the secret anymore. Her life was no longer in her control. Will Elena find a way to break free from the clutches of her past? Or will she be consumed by the darkness that threatens to engulf her? Find out next time. Then a knock on the door made her jump. She looked through the peephole and saw an unmarked envelope slid under the door. Her hands trembled as she opened it. Inside was a note written in a shaky hand. I know what happened that night. Meet me before it's too late. Her blood ran cold. It was a message from her past, a past she had buried and never spoken about, not even to her closest friends or family. The notes implied that someone knew her darkest secret, something she had thought she'd hidden away forever. Fear tightened its grip around her heart. Should she call the police? But the note didn't mention anything concrete. It was just a vague warning. And besides, what would she say? I have a stalker who knows about a secret that I haven't told anyone. They'd probably just think she was crazy. The hours ticked by, and Elena paced her apartment, trapped by her own fear. Finally, when the sun began to rise, she decided she couldn't live like this anymore. She had to know who was behind the note and why they were tormenting her. Then her phone vibrated. Another text from an unknown number. Meet me at the pier at midnight. It's not safe here. The pier, it was the one place tied to her secret, the place where she had tried to put that night behind her. But now it seemed like her past had caught up to her and was demanding to be seen. Elena felt a chill crawl up her spine. This was more than just a creepy stalker situation. This was a threat. Someone wanted her to come to the pier alone, and she had a feeling that if she did, she wouldn't be coming back. She looked around her apartment, suddenly feeling very alone. Her friends and family were away, and for the first time in her life, Elena Hart wished she had someone to protect her. But she knew that this secret, whatever it was something she had to face alone. The episode ends with Elena staring at the city lights from her apartment window, realizing that her life was no longer in her control. Her past had come back to haunt her, and she couldn't hide from it anymore. And that's the end of the story. Please click the subscribe button. So please like, share, and comments below. Thank you for watching.